just some things I like to put out there. When we're thinking about ecological living, when we're thinking about gardening, some of the themes that I put up on the meetup that I would talk about tonight synthesize these two concepts of how do we stay healthy, how do we stay strong, how do we stay intelligent in a culture that is actively trying to dumb us down because of who owns the media and what the actual agenda is. The actual agenda is to keep business as usual rolling and keep the Americans complacent. As long as those two things continue, marketing and advertising is happy, and America can continue as this bubble phenomenon that it has for the last several hundred years on the global marketplace. But if we actually want to bring our quality of lives home, we have a lot of work to do in this country. Clean up the air, clean up the water, and claim some autonomy when it comes to food and energy. Where does our energy come from? Where does our food come from? And what I've been suggesting for a long time is New Yorkers in the Northeastern Corridor are very well positioned to become food self-reliant and energy self-reliant. Should we care to have that conversation? Yeah, absolutely. Greenhouse operations, it requires more of a focused use of the acreage that exists in the region as well, where we start to say, all right, in the Hudson drainage, how much of the butter that people eat in this area could we produce? Where are the dairy operations going to need to be? How much of the potatoes that people eat?
Right.
So there's a lot of food connections that we need to start to make as people who live in a city that has a lot of buying power and would like to have really high quality, really exceptional cuisine. That's totally within our grasp here. We just need to, as a community, start to have more of a clear directive that we're giving to all the people who want to be growers. Here's what we want you to grow. Not just arugula for high-end salads at high-end restaurants. We now want you to grow all the potatoes that people in the Hudson Valley are consuming organically in a place that's appropriate with the least amount of effort possible. Right? So we need to, because the other thing that's important to recognize is really we have to be redesigning how it is we farm at the same time as we're regionalizing it. Right? By regionalizing agriculture, we solve a bunch of problems that I would suggest if we don't bring our food home, we don't solve an array of problems that we face because of how much of our food comes from too far away. Is it conceivable that we could retrofit our economy to provide more of what it is that we actually need closer at hand? I like to put this way. Shorten the distance of transmission of all goods and services. Insofar as you shorten the distance of transmission of all goods and services, you increase the quality quotient and you decrease the quantity quotient. Right? The types of livelihoods that I think future generations are going to thank us for are livelihoods that involve being able to provide more of what we need closer to where we live. Not livelihoods that involve making high-end specialized widgets that get shipped all around the planet, which is right now our concept of a good economy, right? Super specialized, super technocratic model of economic development. But for how long and at what cost does that sort of bubble concept even have longevity? Industrial economy has basically given us very few options when it comes to tightening up our belt and being able to acquire more of what it is that we actually want to be ingesting from closer at hand. We are bereft of local cuisine that's full diet in year-round. What we do have is local cuisine that is high-end, niche market, and here for a small window of the season. It's a beginning, and I'll take it, and we can build on it. Right? That needs to be pointed out about a number of studies that I have observed about trying to ballpark how much food could we grow in the Northeast, right? So when these well-intended, often academic, often non-governmental organizations do this type of number crunching, you'll find that the people doing it aren't growers, aren't farmers, and lack the imagination to say, maybe we could actually do things differently than these farms are doing them. And if we didn't do things exactly the way Gersinski's or Tonges or Bobolink Farm does it. But if we actually designed the whole region to be more productive for staple crops, what would that look like, and where would those staple crops make sense to grow? And so when you start with food and you say, how much food do people in New York City consume and where does it all come from?